Hey everyone, welcome back to the Liam Photography YouTube channel. I'm your host Liam Douglas, and in this episode I'm doing an unbox and review of the Fujifilm GF35-70mm f4.5 to 5.6 wide-angle lens for the Fujifilm medium format system. Alright, so let's open up the box here and see what we have. And upon opening the box, we have our top layer paperwork, program benefits if you join Fujifilm Professional Services, which I haven't done because it's like $400 a year, which to me is expensive. Then we have the protective pouch for the lens, and then of course we also have the Fujifilm Worldwide Network instruction manual, and we have the big normal instruction manual for the lens. I'll put these down here so the wind doesn't blow them away. It's a little bit breezy out today. Okay, now let's get to the good stuff. Now, I have already had this out of the box before, so I don't have the plastic wrappings on it anymore. But this is the lens right here. It has a 62mm front filter thread, in case you were wondering. It does come with a nice Tulip style lens hood that's included in the box. And of course, it has the rear lens cap. Now, this lens is one that Fujifilm released about a year ago, I think it was. They released it at the same time as the GFX50S Mark II camera. And they offered it in a kit. If you bought the Fujifilm 50S Mark II as a kit with this lens, you got the lens for $500 as part of the kit. But if you wanted to buy the lens separately, it was $1,000. And I really wanted this lens because I didn't have any telephoto lenses at the time for my GFX50R. All I had was the 50mm, which is a 40mm full frame equivalent, and the 23mm wide angle lens, which is an 18mm full frame equivalent. So this one is a 27 to 55mm full frame equivalent, and as I said before, its maximum aperture goes from f4.5 to 5.6. and its minimum aperture is f32. Now, a little bit more about this lens, and I'm taking the specs from B&H Photo's website just because it's quick and convenient. So I gave you the aperture, the focal range. It's of course medium format. It has 11 elements in 9 groups. It does have autofocus using an STM motor, and the diaphragm blades are 9, and it gives you a rounded diaphragm setup to get you more of rounded bokeh balls when you're shooting with this lens. Now, the lens does not have any image stabilization at all, but this is a really great lens. Now, Fujifilm does offer a similar lens that they've had on the market for a while, which is their 32 to 64. Now, the nice thing about the 32 to 64 is it is an f4 as the maximum aperture throughout, so the aperture doesn't adjust at all. However, I didn't see the need to get the 32 to 64 because even though I wanted at least a short telephoto lens for my 50R, I didn't want to spend $3,000 for a lens that I'm only going to use on occasion. So this one was much more practical at $1,000. Now, I do want to share with you that I did get extremely lucky, because when I decided to pick up this lens, I started searching for it during the 2022 holiday season after Black Friday, actually into December already, and nobody had the lens in stock. The Fujifilm store didn't have any, B&H didn't have any, Adorama didn't have any, none of the normal photography stores in the US had any, not even Amazon at the time. I got lucky enough to find this brand new one at KEH's website. Now, they are not sponsoring this video. I'm just sharing my information with you on where I found the lens for full transparency. And I did get lucky because for the first time ever, Fuji decided to make the lens half off for the 2022 holiday season. So I got this lens brand spanking new from KEH for $499.99. So I got it for half off, which made me extremely happy. And I got the last one. I don't know about overseas and other countries' camera stores, but I know in the United States, this was the last brand new GF35-70 to be found anywhere. As a matter of fact, I was originally on KEH looking to see if they at least had a used one maybe that I could pick up for a reasonable price, and I got lucky and got this brand new one. So I'm going to mount this on my GFX50R so we can see what it looks like. Let me take off the body cap and the rear lens cap, and we'll go ahead and mate this to my camera. Oops, let me get it turned there. There we go. Now, it's not a very big lens. It's fairly compact and it's lightweight as well, which is nice. And it is a fantastic lens. It does have the weather resistance to it, so it does have protection from moisture, dust, and stuff like that built into the lens. Now, on the very top here, I don't know if you can see this very well, but there's a little mark over here on this side of the lens. Now, that is basically the lock point. Sometimes zoom lenses, so in other words, so they don't drift, especially longer zoom lenses like my 50mm, not my 50mm to 140, but my Tamron 18 to 300, actually has a lock switch so that when you're carrying it, the barrel doesn't drift and extend on its own and then get whacked by stuff and so on and so forth. Now with this lens, when you have it on this mark above the 35 to 70 here, is basically the lock position for the lens. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I turn my camera on, while I have it in that position, it says rotate zoom lens to extend, or zoom ring to extend lens. And you cannot shoot with the lens while it's in that position. You get this message instead on your camera screen. So if I go ahead and I'll take off the front lens cap, and let me go ahead and rotate it to 35mm. There you go, and it clicks, so you know you're locked in at 35mm. And you can see that the message is now gone from my screen and the lens is ready to be used. So let me go ahead and put it back in the lock position for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out and shoot a few photographs with this lens, and I'll add that footage to this video so that you can check things out for yourself. All right, so my first stop, I'm here at one of the local churches that's not too far from my house, so I'm going to go ahead and try out the 35 to 70. I like shooting buildings in general. If you followed my Forgotten Pieces of Georgia and Pennsylvania projects, you know I love to shoot especially abandoned buildings, but I also like to shoot churches. I apologize for the loud truck going by in the background. They seem to follow me everywhere I go. But I also love to shoot churches, so I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of shots of this church here. Okay, so now I'm on Main Street in downtown Roxborough, and of course you're going to hear the traffic going by behind me. I'm parked off to the side of the street at this old abandoned bar that's called LW's. It's been closed ever since we moved to Roxborough last year, but I don't know exactly how long it's been closed, but we're going to go ahead and get a shot of it because, as I mentioned earlier in the video, being this does 28 to 55mm full frame equivalent, at 28mm you could easily use it for street photography as well. All right, now here's another cool building that I wanted to shoot with this lens. This is the S&P Gentry general store. It's a nice elderly couple that own this store, and my wife and I do stop and shop here frequently. It's just a few miles from where we live in Roxborough, and it's right along 501. So I'm going to go ahead and get a wide shot of it, and then I'm going to get a slightly tighter shot so I can show you those samples in the video. Okay, so another thing I like to shoot is old farm equipment like this. I grew up in Bradford County, Pennsylvania, which is farm country. So I'm going to get a couple of shots of this, one wider and one that's more zoomed in, and I'll put them in the video so you can see them for yourself. All right, so as you got to see for yourself from my sample images, this lens is fantastic. And although it's not in stock anywhere right now, make sure you place your pre-order or your back order on it now if you want to get it for the half price. So you can get it for $4.99 instead of $9.99. Definitely want to place your order now at places like B&H, Adorama, Amazon, KEH, wherever you might get your camera gear from in the United States. Go ahead and place your back order so you can lock in that 50% off price. This lens is absolutely great. I love it. I don't care that it's an f4.5 to 5.6 since I use it mostly for landscapes and architecture. I don't need f2 or f2.8 or f1.2 for any of that kind of stuff. So this lens is absolutely stellar for the kind of photography that I do. All right, that's going to wrap up this video. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, hit the little bell icon, watch the videos, comment on them, share them out on social media and elsewhere, and I will see you all next time.